I make my own soap because my mother makes me do it. That's not really true. Actually, I made everybody in my household switch to my homemade soap when I started looking at soap and looking at some of the ingredients in it. And like there is some stuff in there that I do not want on my skin in most of your commercial soaps. And like yucky stuff. I don't have any commercial soap in the house that I can actually pull out a bar and read you some of the ingredients that are in there. But some of them I couldn't pronounce. And if I can't pronounce an ingredient, I don't want to eat it. And I really don't want it on my skin. So apparently I'm not allowed to do the introduction without Tabby on my shoulder, purring, because she hears me talking and she stands down there by my feet and just yells at me. So anyway, hi, welcome to my world. Today we are gonna make some soap.
Yay!
Mom's here in the kitchen with me. She's cheering me on. She's been after me to make a soap video. Now, I'm not going to do a bunch of soap making videos, nor is this going to be, well, I guess it is kind of going to be a how-to. But really, making soap is a lot easier than you think, and it's certainly not as scary as people make it out to be. If you ever go somewhere to a market or something and you go to buy homemade soap and you ask the soap maker whether or not there is lye in their soap, and they tell you that they did not make their soap with lye, then they didn't make their soap, because that's the only way you can make soap. If they're not putting the lye in themselves, they are using a pre-made melted bar of soap that somebody else has already made, and they're just adding color and scent to it. So that is not actually making your own soap. And if you look at the list of ingredients on there, they're just as bad as the ones that are on a bar of soap that you buy at the store. So yeah, I mean, I know that, what is it, Irish Spring, I think, will keep animals out of your garden. I don't want that on my skin. Anyway. So, lye is not as scary as people make it out to be. It does burn the heck out of your skin, and you do want to be careful with it. I wear gloves when I'm actually working with the lye. I don't when I'm working with anything else making soap. But I have had it splash up on my skin, and yeah, it hurts a little bit. So let me show you, because like I said, the thing that got me away from using commercial soaps is what's in commercial soaps. So let me show you what's in my soap. So first, pure olive oil. Extra virgin olive oil is one of my ingredients. And then I use a food grade coconut oil. Does it say on there? Organic virgin coconut oil. And in this recipe, I use food grade cocoa butter. Cocoa butter, food grade cocoa butter. So like you can eat these. You can eat all three of these oils you can eat. Don't eat soap. Don't ever eat soap. I don't care how good it looks, don't eat soap. Because once you add the lye to the fat and you mix it up enough, saponification happens. And saponification is what turns the mixture of lye and fat into soap. Now, I don't make my own lye, but apparently you can do that too with just ash and water makes lye. I'm not quite that far. I just use this is a 99% pure sodium hydroxide, or lye. You can call it lye as well. And so that's what I use for my lye. And then I used to put colors in it and stuff. I used to use pigments and color it up and stuff, because natural soap, because of the oils that you use, is kind of a little yellowy tinge to it. I should go and grab a bar and show you. So I have in the past, I've used colors for my soap, and I've made, you know, things like this. This is like an orange and white, and there's one of my blue ones. So you can color it, and you can get pigments. Like I used makeup pigments in mine. So they're the same pigments that go into making eyeshadow or blush or whatever, depending on what colors you're using. But then this is the color of a natural bar of soap that doesn't have anything in it. And this is the same recipe I'm using today. So it's ragged and jagged all over the place. It hasn't been used yet. There's a couple of things that you can do. You can put them in molds that will make them into nice cute little shapes. Or you can, once they're dried, it's really easy to smooth the edges. All you have to do is just run it under some water and smooth the edges. Or I used to, when I was selling them, I used to actually take I had a special little vegetable peeler, and I would actually trim all of the edges up and make them all nice and smooth and pretty. And I don't do that with the ones we're going to use at home, because yeah, we're just going to use this. So these are the two molds that I'm going to use today. This is just a square. They're silicone. Silicone is the best to use for soap. You can use other materials though if you want to. I had a heck of a time finding silicone in the beginning. I couldn't find any, and then I found lots. And then I'm also going to use this one for the leftover. So I make my batches are 40 ounces. And you can make your batches however big you want to make them. Mine make a little more than this full. So I'll fill this up, and then I'll get 4 or 6 in this little round ones that I'll make. And I do have different molds. I have some Christmas molds, and I have a variety of different molds. But one thing you want to remember is you don't want to use your soap tools for baking, because that could be really bad. You do not want to eat soap. So do not eat the soap. I don't care how tasty it looks.
Not even the chocolate soap?
Not even the chocolate soap. So today I'm actually making what I call my chocolate soap. And that's just the recipe that I have, and that's because it has this really nice cocoa butter in it, and so it smells kind of chocolatey in the end when it's done being made. And so I am going to, I'm actually doing eucalyptus. Mom wanted eucalyptus oil is the other thing that I use, is an essential oil. I don't always put an essential oil in it, but we like ours scented. But essential oil is the only thing that I use for scent. So this one is going to be eucalyptus, and that is really nice. I tell you what, in the shower in the wintertime, when you might have a little bit of a stuffy head, a eucalyptus shower will wake you right up. Maybe I should put some peppermint in it too.
Whatever.
Anyway, and then I do use a little bit of pure vitamin E oil and a little bit of tea tree oil. And those are I just use a drop or two, and they're kind of a preservative. So that's what I do. So let me just go over the tools that I have that are specifically for making soap. So one, of course, is my molds. I have several silicone molds that are used just for making soap. So then I also have 2 of these, and these are the big 4-cup Pyrex. And I use one of them for my sodium hydroxide, my lye and water mix that you need at the beginning. And then I use the other one for melting my hard oils so that I can get them to the right temperature. So, what else? So I have just a little hand immersion blender, and I use that because you can stir your soap by hand. I never have, and I never will, because, oh my gosh, it takes long enough using one of these things, let alone using your hands to stir it. But that's what they used to do, and it can be done. But a little immersion blender. Then I have my 2 little scrapers, my little one and my big one, and these are both silicone as well. I have a thermometer, And this is so I can gauge the temperature of my lye. And so here's the thing, when you mix the sodium hydroxide with the water, it gets quite hot. And that's why I like to use a Pyrex cup for it, because they're heat resistant. And then your oils, you want to melt your oils, but then you want to bring your lye water mix and your oil mix to a similar temperature between 90 and 110 Fahrenheit. And before you actually mix them together, because it helps them to mix together better. Well, she's not criticizing. I mean, she's cheering me on and critiquing and letting me know if I'm missing any important information in the soap making process.
I don't know any important information. I wouldn't be able to tell if you were missing it or not.
She just likes the word saponification.
I can't even pronounce it.
So I use what is known as a cold process. And there are, basically when you're making your own soap, there's a cold process and there's a hot process. And the hot process is when you cook your soap through the saponification process. And you can do that I actually have a crock pot that's strictly for making soaps and lotions and stuff. And I have made a hot process bar of soap, or log of soap. I didn't care for it, so I only did it the one time just to try it. But the cold process method means that once you reach a certain stage of thickness with your mixture, you put it aside and then you wrap it up in towels and stuff so that it slows down very slowly, and which helps it from not cracking and stuff. And anyway, so you don't actually cook it through and that process there of resting is while it goes through the saponification process, and yeah, so I know it's a lot to remember, but you know what? You can go online and find this stuff. I learned how to make soap from watching YouTube videos. There are a ton of fantastic YouTube videos out there, and that will even have more of a detail than I do. This is the camera.
Hello, folks. How are you? I like the soap. I was a little resistant at first, but turns out it's pretty good on your skin.
There you have it.
Bye. Go cooking. Go cook soap.
Go cook soap. Something else that you can do when you make your own homemade soaps is you can use different botanicals for scrubbies and stuff. So this is actually some lavender that I sprinkled on the top here, some lavender flowers that I dried. And I mean, you can use all kinds of stuff. I've made them with calendula flowers, and I've also made them with cocoa. Cocoa makes, believe it or not, a fantastic scrub on your skin when you put a couple of tablespoons into your soap mixture. So yeah, it can be a lot of fun experimenting with the different things that you can do. The add-ons are not as important as having the correct measurements for the different oils. Yes. Different fats have different flash points, and that's why you want to have a recipe that's based on the oils that you are using. And I think I already mentioned brambleberry.com is a great place. They have a really nice recipe calculator that you can enter your different oils that you have, and it will actually give you the proper breakdown and tell you how much lye you need and how much water you need to be able to create a batch of the size that you want. So I think I mentioned I make 40 ounces at a time, and that fills my 2 molds, and that's good for us, right? We don't really need much more than that. As you can see, I have got a towel down on my counter here, and these are my, well, you know, they're rag towels, and I use them for my making soap. And again, it just covers and protects this. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing I do is I measure out my water, and for this recipe to make 40 ounces of my what I call chocolate soap, I need 13.2 ounces of water. Some of the soap makers online will tell you that you have to be exact down to the nth of a degree when you're making soap. But that, I have found, is not quite true. Okay, let me rephrase that. That doesn't mean that you have to have exact measurements for soap that you're making for yourself. So while it is true that every little change in a measurement will change the outcome of your product, a small change in the amount of one ingredient or another will not ruin your soap. It'll just be a little bit different. It might be a little bit clearer, it might be a little bit softer, it might be a little bit harder. But I mean, you don't want to go way off, like crazy off, right? Like I'm at 1.3.75 and I should be at 1.3.2. So I'm going to take a little bit out because that's like half an ounce over, right? I don't want to be that far out. But if I'm at like 1.3.21 or 1.3.22 or something, I'm not going to freak out about that. So there, I'm at 1.3.26, and that, as far as I'm concerned, is close enough. Set this here. The next step is to... Oh, I didn't want you to go off. Anyway, the next step is to measure your lye and then get your lye into your water. So it's very important that you always put your lye into your liquid. And if you ever want to use anything other than cold water, then definitely do some further research, because different liquids will have a different reaction with the lye. I didn't do my research beforehand, and I wish I had a video of this, but I don't. It's from way back when I first started making soap. And I tried making some with coffee. And I poured lye into hot coffee, and oh my, holy gosh, kitchen explosion. I had that stuff, toxic all over everything in my kitchen. It was awful. So don't do what I do. Do as I say, not as I do. Anyway, my lye, my sodium hydroxide, I need 5.862 ounces. And you can use when you go to calculate your own recipe, you can use whatever oils you have on hand. I've made soap with lard, I've used almond oil, grapeseed oil, canola oil, sunflower oil. I mean, and they're all really good for your skin, right? Like that's what I looked for in some of my soaps, was what was going to be really good for my skin when I put it onto my body. You know, because your skin is your largest organ, and you got to take care of it. Anyway, okay, let's put that there, and I want 5.86 ounces of lye. Okay, so once again, I got a little too much, and this is like I'm quite a bit over, so I'm just gonna pull a little out. 5.7, 5.85. Mine calls for 5.86. Bumped up to 5.89, and that's going to work for me. Anyway, I believe I mentioned that you always want to add your lye to your liquid. Never add your liquid to your lye. And then you want to add it a little bit at a time and stir it. I guess I should be doing that with pouring it in with the opposite hand. You see how cloudy it gets, right? So you want to stir, and you can, it's not heating up too badly yet, but I'll take the temperature when I get all of the lye added in. Again, you just want to add a little bit at a time. Because if you don't, it can start to bubble, and it can get too hot too fast, and it can climb all over. Like it can start bubbling out of there faster than you know what's going to happen. So that is the only scary thing about it. You just have to be really careful with lye. And other than that, as long as you take it and you mix it in slowly, a little bit at a time. And if you're using other liquids, one thing that I did learn about using other liquids like milk or coffee or tea or anything like that is that if you freeze those, You know, measure it out, make sure that you have your right amount of ounces, and then freeze that, and then add your lye to it. You don't run into as much problem with things exploding and going all over the place. So, I don't know if anyone's listening or not while we stir the lye. Anyway, I'll be back when this is all mixed up and stirred together, and we'll go on to the next step. One more tip that I kind of forgot. Having some vinegar around while you're doing this will really help if you end up splashing that lye on yourself. It can neutralize that damage on clothing or whatever. But like I said, as long as you're careful with it, it's not a big deal. Okay, so let's take the temperature on this. And this is just a meat thermometer that I only use for this. So you can't see this, but it's 180 degrees Fahrenheit. So let me see if I can get that up there so you actually can see it. So this is why you want to be careful, right? I do want to talk about the two tools that I use that I do interchange between my soap making and my kitchen. And this is because I don't use them with lye. So because I use all food grade edible oils, I use, this is my candy thermometer, and I use it in my oil to gauge the temperature of that so that I can have both my oil and my lye water mixture at the same temperature or close to the same temperature. And then I use this, which is our ice cream scoop, to get out coconut butter. Because I don't know if you've ever worked with coconut butter, but that stuff is hard. It can be pretty hard. So anyway, I'm going to do that and I'll be back. All right, so I've just got my hard fats in here because that's all that will fit. This is a 24-ounce cup, and that is my 18 ounces of coconut oil and my 6 ounces of cocoa butter. And the cocoa butter is also hard. The cocoa butter is actually harder than the coconut oil. So, but anyway, I've got a little pot here. My stove is on medium. My pot has water in it, and it's coming about halfway up the cup. And I'm going to leave that to melt and this to come down. It's now at 160. So I'm going to leave this to come down, and I'm going to leave this to melt, and when that is all done, I will return. I have put you back onto my head camera so that you can actually see what goes on when we do this, and hopefully I'm close enough that you can see. So my temperature of my oil and my temperature of my lye water mixture have both come to about 100 degrees Fahrenheit. So like I think the water is 101 and the oil might be, I don't know, 100. I have, you can see in here probably, I'm hoping that you can see I've got some floaties in there. And that's, I don't know, maybe my thing was dirty. But anyway, I'm going to pour it through this. I've got this plastic little sieve that I use to collect any gunk that might be. It could be also impurities in the lye. It was only a 99% pure. I don't know if you can get it more pure than that or not. Set that aside. You can see I've got my gloves on just in case I splash. Now, if you're prone to splashing, okay, so I'm going to give this a little bit of a stir with my little stir stick here, and then I'm going to come in here with my hand blender. And, well, you can watch, but I'll probably either, well, I don't know that I'll zoom through it, but I will definitely turn off the sound so that you do not have to listen to this, because it is loud, loud, loud. So you want to, oops, sorry, I'm getting my cord caught everywhere here, and I don't want that to go flying. I've had that happen. If you are prone to clumsiness like I am, be super careful in this part. This is where I have had little bits of the lye and stuff splash up onto myself, so be extra careful. But so I've got that out of the way. I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit more. Okay, and then I'm going to mix it in a little bit. And now is where I'm going to start looking for trace. So I want a fairly medium to heavy trace. If you are one of my artist friends, you know what that means because, well, one of my fluid artist friends, you know what that means because you have worked with different consistencies of paint. Well, with soap, it's basically the same thing, right? It's trace. So I'll come down here a little bit. You can see it is getting thicker, and I can see a very light little bit of lines here. I'm hoping that you can see that. I can't look up at the same time as I'm looking down to see if you can actually see that. I should actually get Mom. Can you come here and be my photographer for a few minutes?
Seeing everything. How do I look, folks?
You look beautiful. Anyway, if you would kind of get down here where you can see what's going on in this bowl with the oil and the, so you can see it's starting to get little bits of trace. So that's a fairly light to almost medium trace. So at this point, this is where I'm going to add in my essential oil. And here again, you want to be aware of the different flash points of different oils, because if you put in a hot oil like cinnamon or whatever, cinnamon or clove or any of those that are considered hot oils, it will seize up your soap and it will be a useless mess. So there are also calculations that you can do that'll tell you whether you want a light or a medium scent based on how many ounces of soap you're making, how much essential oil to use to get the amount of scent that you want. So I'm using about 1.5 ounces, and that's going to give me between a light and medium scent overall in my soap. So it won't be overpowering, but yeah, it'll definitely smell like eucalyptus. Okay, so I'm going to add this in here now. And I'm just going to give it a little stir with for a minute, and then I'll turn my...
Hui.
Yeah, it smells stronger in the beginning. Once it goes through the saponification process, it will smell differently.
My sinuses are cleaning right up.
Okay, so you can see how much lighter my trace is now. Those little, what I mean by trace, I mean the little tiny lines that are showing up on the surface when I do that. See those little tiny lines? I don't know. The lighting sucks. Okay, you can pull back a little bit. I don't want to splash you. So, and that's what you want to do is you want to mix it for a few minutes, a minute or two with your mixer, and then come in here and see where you are. Like, look at how thick that traced up for me already. Can you see? Do you see those big lines that are
Yeah, I can see.
being left there? Okay, so that's a nice thick trace. So I'm actually going to stop here with my mixing, with my mixer, and I'm going, Mom, do you want to, can you hold that and grab that cup of lavender there at the same time? Look at you, multitasking.
I'm ambidextrous.
Okay, so go ahead and throw that lavender. So this is just some lavender flowers that I've dried. And even though I know they're not going to stay purple in color, I'm going to go ahead and mix those in. And I'm going to mix those in by hand. Here is also where if you wanted to add color, would be just before you add the botanicals. So botanicals being whatever natural thing you're adding into here. In this case, it is lavender flowers.
I have a question.
Okay.
Are these measuring
tools separate from your other measuring tools?
Yes. Oh, yes, absolutely.
As well as all your bowls.
As well as all of
okay.
my bowls and all of my utensils. And there is, I think I told them there's two things that I use for both. But the only reason I use them for both is because I only use them for my oils.
Okay.
Right? Like I'll scoop out my oils with our ice cream scoop.
Okay.
And I'll use my candy thermometer to measure the heat of my oil. But it's edible oil. Until now, it's no longer edible now that it's this nice, thick consistency. So now we're going into our mold. Now you can keep going. You can go a little thicker if you want to. And here's where it breaks off from the cold and the hot process, because at this point you would be putting into and I don't really remember much about the hot process. I only did it once. But at this point, you would take it and put it into your crock pot or whatever and then cook it for, I don't even remember how long you cook it for, so I'm not even going to say. But we're going to pour into our mold here. And it's easy. You can feel how warm it is. Feel, Mom, the bowl.
Not hot?
Not hot, but it is warm. Okay, so in we go. I'm going to fill it almost to the top. Okay, and then I'm going to get my other tray. So my mold, this mold anyway, well, both of my molds, Honey built this. Dave, Mom, over here. Dave built this for me. Specifically to hold this mold, because if you don't have something to hold these flexible molds, they'll just bulge out all over the place. Like this one will anyway. I've got it on a cutting board though. That is, yes, specifically used with my soap and my crafts. I'll use it with my crafts sometime, but never for food prep. Anyway, we're gonna go ahead and fill these up. And then I'm going to show you how I wrap them so that they can saponify slowly. And that's the big difference between the cold method and the hot method, and the result too, right? The ending soap is different. But yeah, doing the cold process way, it's a slower, mellower saponification process. Just try to go in here with this. And let me get my spoon, because you don't want to waste any of this. So, and here's my other little tip for cleaning up with these soap dishes. Leave them sit overnight. Like, don't even try to clean them in this state. Honestly, it's almost impossible. But if you let it set overnight, it will become soap. And then it just washes right off because it's soap. And that's what you use to wash things, right? Okay, so something else that I have done is these are just little pieces of plastic that I have laminated. And I use them because you'll see I'm going to wrap this all in a towel. Let me get some of this moved out of the way. Okay, so this is, I'm going to wrap them in a towel, and that also is going to help them from cooling off so quickly, which also slows down the saponification process. So when this finishes sitting, so you can see it was kind of like a pudding consistency when I poured it into here. It's kind of like pudding. And once it saponifies, it will become a hard bar of soap. So I'm going to go and I'm going to wrap this in the towels. And then I'm going to tuck it away in a cupboard where it can sit undisturbed until, I don't know, I'll check on it tomorrow afternoon. And we'll be back.
I don't know what to do with it.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I don't know what to do with this. Look here, nothing. Nothing's there except her little glovey thing. And some stuff. Oh, here she comes. Here she comes. Oh, dirty dishes. Dirty dishes.
Soap. It is now soap, so it's soft still. One other thing with the cold process that I do is that you have to cure it. If you, I mean, you could start using it today, but if you used it today and continued using it, it wouldn't last very long because it's not very hard yet. It needs to cure for a while.
What's
So-
a while? What's a while?
About 6 weeks.
Okay.
Depending. Like this is, well, let's pop these little guys out. Can you smell
This
that?
looks like a chicken laying an egg.
Can you smell that?
Oh yeah, it smells wonderful.
Eucalyptus all the way.
We need more light in here. Do we have any more light? Turn the light
We
on.
do, yeah. Oh, it's been unplugged.
It's unplugged. There, it looks like on that side. There. See it better? Alrighty.
Yeah, so I don't know what happened to this one, but somehow it got a little bumped in. But yeah, so you can see I can bend that with my finger, right? Still. So it's not going to last.
So shall I run and get the toilet plunger so that you can pull that dent out?
No, no, it won't
Oh,
pull out.
that only works on cars.
That only works on cars. Okay, let me go and get the little cutter doohickey and the loaf, and we'll cut it.
Into soap.
Soap turns into soap. And so this is the next, no, this is like 2 days later, actually, right? Because we
were gone
made it on
yesterday.
Sunday, and then on Monday we went to Vancouver. And so it's now Tuesday night. So here's our loaf of soap, and you can see how nice and smooth it is. I quite often actually will make decorations in the top, but Mom complained because it was too sharp.
Throwing me under the bus again. Mom complained. I don't think I complained. I never complain
Okay,
much.
Mom commented that there were a lot of really sharp edges and it was kind of mountainy on top. And was there any way I could prevent that? So, yes, no, she didn't complain, but...
I'm 80. What do you expect from me?
Okay, so
I
to
have
get-
the right to complain if I want to. I've earned that right.
Oh, that's what I hear my sinuses.
Oh my goodness. Gesundheit. Any more coming? Usually she
Nope,
does
I think that's it.
six sneezes in a row.
Okay, so this is something else that David built for me, because he's the most marvelous husband in the world. And this is a cake slicer, pie slicer, something slicer. And you want to do this within a couple of days, because when the soap gets too hard, you really can't cut it anymore. See what I'm doing here? Making a mess. I'm not used to showing anybody what I'm doing when I'm doing this. I usually just do it. But yeah, so there is a lovely bar of soap. And it smells fabulous, just like eucalyptus, so. And that's just going to sit right there. Push that up. Down we go. Bar of soap.
Seems like you have to have an awful lot of specialized equipment to do soap.
Well, you don't. You don't have to have this. You don't have to have this mold. You don't have to have these. All you need to have is the stuff to make the soap and something to put it in. And I've seen people make molds for soap out of cardboard boxes.
Like
The
that
only
mold there.
Yeah. Yeah. The only thing you can't use as a mold is aluminum. Don't ask me why, because I don't know. But you can't use aluminum to make a mold. But you can make molds out of anything. And I got this because I was going to sell the soap, or did sell the soap.
Yeah.
Which is something else to remember. If you ever think you're going to sell soap, make sure that you look into the local regulations wherever you are, because, you know, there are national regulations towards the selling of cosmetic things, and there are also local regulations for that kind of stuff. So you want to look in and make sure that you're meeting the requirements of your area. Of course, if you're just making it for yourself, it doesn't matter. Just make it for yourself, right?
Do you think the investment is worth it when you're just making it for yourself and your family? Like how much time, how much time or how many bars of soap would you need to make your investment start paying for itself because you're not buying soap?
The two molds, you just need to have a handy husband.
Yeah.
Because these were made out of scrap. These were old shelves and pieces of scrap 1x4 that he had that he
I'm
put
thinking
together.
of all your pots and pans and the stuff that you
I
specialize.
bought all that stuff at either the dollar store or the thrift store.
Okay.
So I really didn't spend that. Like the bowl was maybe $1. The only thing that I actually really spent money on was the hand mixer.
Okay.
And the hand mixer, I had one, so I used my old one and then bought a new one.
Keep cutting. Keep cutting.
Sorry.
Keep working.
Sorry. Anyway, yeah. So that's how easy it is to make your own soap. And this was, I think, I don't know, $3 or $4. I got it at a craft store. It's used for cutting cakes and pies and stuff. You can get them that have waffle edges if you want to have like waffle design on them. But so this soap will last us for, I don't know.
Why don't you just leave that the size it is? You're not selling it. Now it's ruined.
See, and you can just cut down. This is going to be for you.
Yeah, thanks.
We'll let it dry completely, and then we can put it in something, and you can use it in your drawer. In the drawer with your socks.
Victoria's
With your Victoria's Secrets.
They're secret, all right.
So secret, I don't even know I have them. There, and okay, so now this is going to go and sit in a cupboard until we need it. We have, I don't know, 4 bars left. It'll last us for a month or so.
But at least how long will it sit there? At least 6 weeks?
At least 4 weeks.
At least 4
But
weeks.
you'll be able to see as it dries. And you can, like, I can push on this and you can see I made a thumbprint. Can you see that through the camera?
I don't know. Can you see a thumbprint?
Where I made an indentation right here.
Yeah, I think you can see it.
Okay. So you'll be able to see, and there, look, I did with a fingernail. You'll be able to see it'll get harder and harder and harder, and you won't be able to.
Will this color, see where it's darker in the center, will that get lighter and lighter as
Yes.
it dries?
Yeah, it'll become more creamy like this.
Okay.
What, you can turn this off and just let that all sit for 5 minutes,
And it'll all slide
and it'll
off.
basically just dissolve.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, and it's the same thing, like you want to, if you're ever using homemade soap, don't ever let it sit in the water.
Ah, right.
It will turn into, what will it turn into, Mom?
It's mushy.
It's mushy. It turns into a gooey, mushy, horrible, horrible mess. So, yeah, don't ever leave it sitting in the water. Make sure that you have a soap dish that the water drains out of.
Right. Important. Those wooden soap dishes are nice
Yes.
because they have the little grooves in them.
Yeah.
Those are good. Yep.
Yeah.
Bye now. Oh. That's from me. She might have more to say about this soap business. But I don't. I'm done. I'm soaking the dishes, so I'm done.
Well, okay then. I guess we're done, guys. Thanks so much for watching. If you have any questions about making soap or anything that I've said, I'm certainly not an expert. I've been making soap for my family for about 5 years now. So I know what I know, and I make some pretty darn good soap. So
And it's pure. That's the big
and it's
thing.
pure. Yeah.
Because we went and looked at some of those big blocks of soap that are pre-made. That
Yeah,
you just
yeah.
melt down.
Yeah.
And who knows what kind of lye they used in them. I mean, the stuff you used said, what, 99% pure?
Yeah.
I'm sure there's impure lye,
Yeah.
the cheapest stuff.
Well, there's other stuff they put in it too, right? Like they put aluminum and they put. There's a variety. I mean, I don't have any soap here that I can actually read the label.
I'm talking about
but
that stuff that they make so that you can make homemade soap. What they call homemade soap. They give you
oh
that
yeah,
big
yeah,
block-
yeah,
that big block of pre-made
yeah.
soap
The pre-made
that
stuff.
you melt down and then
Yeah,
you add
you don't know what they've put in
lavender.
it.
Right.
But it's not just the lye. I mean, the lye is probably is probably the least offensive thing.
Yeah.
I mean, and lye is only dangerous during a certain point, right? Once it's mixed with the oils properly, it's not.
But this stuff, you know what's going in it from
Yeah,
scratch.
exactly,
From
exactly. It
scratch.
has what, 4 ingredients?
Yeah, from scratch.
What did we put into it? Well, I guess it has about 7 because we did add an essential oil, and we did add vitamin E oil and tea tree oil
Right.
for purification.
Do you ever use anything else for scent?
I have, but I don't for us. Just essential oil.
Sometimes you can pick up a bar of soap and it smells very, very lavender.
Oh yeah, that's probably a perfume.
A perfume.
Yeah, that wouldn't be. Like I've made lavender soap.
Right, but it isn't as strong as some of the ones I've seen
Yeah.
at the farmer's
Well, and
market.
I don't do mine as strong either. Like I do a light to a medium, kind of in between a light to a medium, because I don't like a perfumey
But
soap.
perfume isn't good for your skin.
No, perfume is
So
not.
if they're
But you can do
using-
an essential oil.
If essential oil is good, but a perfume
It's bad.
is not good.
Yeah, right. Perfumes have alcohols and a variety of different things that can be damaging to your skin.
Okay, we've told them as much as we know. No, we've told them as much as I know. You know way more than that. So ask her if you have questions.
All right, guys. Well, you heard her. I'm going to say goodnight too. Thanks so much for coming and hanging out with us today, and I will see you soon. Take care of yourself. Bye now.